So I was standing backstage for the rehearsals of Summer Game Fest and just watching the trailers there. Watched the entire trailer for Assassin's Creed Black Flag Remastered. And this woman in the crew says to me, that chest hair was amazing. The lighting. And I didn't really know what she was talking about in the moment. I, laughed politely. But you go back and look, she's not wrong. Since the last time I sat here making a video, there's been a State of Play, Summer Game Fest of course, and an Xbox Games Showcase. Big reveals, big moments, enough to talk about for months to come really, but I think the spiciest, sauciest announcement of them all is this. Console exclusives on Xbox. After 2 years of peace, just 2 years after this.
So we made the decision that we're going to take 4 games to the other consoles.
Just 2 years after this.
But there is one more thing that Machine Games and Bethesda wanted to share with you about Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
Xbox has changed their minds again. And it's at least funny. It all starts with Asha Sharma, the brand new CEO of Xbox. Remember, first day on the job, blog 1, she was talking about the return of Xbox. And it wasn't super clear what she even meant by that, because I have to make it clear there's been no time in which Microsoft has stopped doing Xbox. So, here's Asha Sharma, now hosting her first ever Xbox Games Showcase. And she gets to light this fuse.
And as we kick off the show with Gears of War E-Day, it's only fitting that as we return to Xbox, we return to Gears. So today, we're announcing that Gears of War E-Day will be an Xbox console exclusive.
Yeah, boom. They even lowered the music and added a sound effect for it. The announcement hits, right? What I find especially funny is the so. We're returning to Xbox. We're returning to Gears. So, it's exclusive now. The logic tracks. Yes, this may have been a late notice decision, but you know what? PlayStation 5 doesn't deserve Gears. Xbox Tenet 6. Core before more. Here's the official Xbox Wire Showcase recap post, and look at that. The return of exclusives is the leading item, but they say Xbox Games Showcase 2026 just concluded, reinforcing our mission to bring you great games, demonstrate the return of Xbox, and show the future of play. So, return of Xbox isn't just something Asha said one time, it's officially a directive now. As part of our focus on the return of Xbox, we also announced that Gears of War E-Day and Clockwork Revolution will be Xbox console exclusives. Okay, for 6 months? No, these are not timed exclusives. Games already announced for multi-platform releases will stick to that plan. We're committed to investing in and growing Xbox both on console and beyond. Okay, well, if you still have questions, Chief Content Officer Matt Booty was able to clarify on Gamertag Radio.
I think Asha said it. We're going to make the right decision, not the fast decision. We're going to keep thinking about this going forward. And I think you guys know as well as anybody that our principle is when we announce a date, we want to announce the platforms. So it's going to be case by case, but we're going to be clear that when it's got a date, it's got a platform, and you'll know what the choice is going to be.
Still, the just announced action-focused semi-sequel Senua has no date, but did announce its platforms. PS5's on there. Is this one, not good enough to be exclusive? Look, Matt Booty knows Xbox Tenet 10 is clarity is kindness, which means he's choosing to be unkind in this moment. And that's what E3 is about. Unkindness. The exclusivity builds chatter. Yeah, Gears of War E-Day will sell significantly fewer copies without being on PS5. And yes, this especially hurts an offbeat and slightly janky new IP like Clockwork Revolution. But that is all worth it because most importantly, it excites the core. So in that video earlier, Matt Booty asked his interviewers, hey, what was a subtle moment that was exciting watching the showcase live with an audience? And what do you think the answer was?
Just a feeling the reaction of the crowd, especially when you guys announced the exclusives and stuff. So I haven't heard that word in a very long time.
Yeah, you could probably imagine it pumped that crowd up. And I find that funny in juxtaposition to the pointed way that Jeff Keighley ended Summer Game Fest, saying this.
Final Fantasy VII Revelation coming to all platforms next spring, which is appropriate for today because SGF is really a celebration of games across all platforms.
Because yes, it may have been expected with the way things were going, but it's still a big announcement. Game of the Year 2027 winner Final Fantasy VII Revelation is not exclusive to any platform, despite episodes 1 and 2 launching only on PlayStation. So something I actually really liked about the way that FF7 Revelation was announced and presented was that it felt like nothing was being taken for granted. I'm saying if the trailer was just 5 seconds of Sephiroth menacingly summoning a meteor, title reveal, release reveal, that would have been enough to please that audience. But what was cool about this is they had the reveal trailer, the Matt Mercer deep diving into familiar and new mechanics. It just felt like they were going all out to earn attention. You know, there was no whiff of, all right, fans, you already know what this is, just buy it. Instead, it was like, we're adding parachutes and character classes. We're trying really hard. Look, I'm just guessing here. I'm assuming at some point Sony probably offered Square Enix some amount of money to make Part 3 exclusive for some amount of time again, and this time Square Enix, much like an athlete who turns down a contract extension offer, is betting on themselves. And I respect that. I think that's cool. And as for Sony, we didn't cover this at the time, but apparently going forward, all single-player exclusives will not have eventual PC ports, like we had seen with Spider-Man and Ghost of Tsushima. It's the return of PlayStation. So that adds a bit of weight and expectation to Wolverine, and definitely for their State of Play grand finale, God of War La Fey, which they debuted with a frankly gluttonous, uninterrupted 23-minute gameplay demo. And I don't think there's a lot of games that could pull this off. One, because, as we've seen, if the final game of your showcase isn't a blockbuster, it will upset the audience. But also, I think La Fey in particular had enough varied gameplay and tiny little narrative mysteries to actually stay interesting for 20 whole minutes. It's like they're thinking, look, it's hard to explain the cube. So we're just gonna show you the cube in context. You'll get it. And last thing, I want to share something that stood out to me in the Gears of War E-Day Direct.
And to tell that story, we wanted to build an experience that evoked the vibes of the original Gears game. So we started with this one still from the Mad World trailer. It's Marcus facing down the Locust, defiantly firing into the darkness against overwhelming odds. And we said, this is the emotional core of Gears. This is the tone and feeling that we wanted to build our next game around.
That's a crazy thing to say. That the clearest, cleanest expression of the emotional core of Gears of War is not any moment from any of the video games, but one shot from one of the trailers. It sounds stupid, but I don't hate it. It's like, yeah, we know they put these things on just to get us to purchase products. But sometimes these trailers and showcases, disposable as they may be, do affect how we think about these video games for decades afterwards. It's why when I think of the emotional core of Mario Kart, I still think,
oh no, come on!
And that's delayed input, which will return to its normal time this Friday. Until then, thanks for watching. I want to talk about one of my favorite moments from all of the trailers of the last week. Until Dawn 2, we're running to a cliff. It says push Luke or jump alone. And I'm watching this trailer on my phone even. And I'm thinking a lot of things in that moment because to me the two options really look like rescue your friend or save yourself. Right? Push Luke looks like the noble thing to do. Then we see what happens if you push Luke. Just brutal. Just probably the most brutal video game death of the thousands of video game deaths I've seen this week. But also, I think, an effective, unique way to sell the dynamics of this particular game. So I was also watching this 20-minute gameplay demo for the Mass Effect-like Exodus that came out this week. Something satisfying about watching these when the person is clearly really good at the game. They're just gonna jump over this laser, slide under this laser. It just looks smooth to me. Unlike, having to watch that guy play Call of Duty.
Hey, you good, man?
Fuck. Anyway, the final part of the big Exodus demo shows the scenario where your buddy Phaedra's grandfather wants to shoot her to end the bloodline. What would you do? Put down your weapon or shoot Elijah, who is the grandfather, by the way? But it looks to me, that looks like two options to save Phaedra's life, right? One that is violent, but she'll definitely live, and one that is diplomatic, but she might not make it. The player in this case chooses to shoot Elijah, and guess what? Haha, sucker. Phaedra gets shot anyway. That, I think, is a poor advertisement for the game, which is weird because it's almost the exact same scenario as Until Dawn 2. However, one is gruesomely entertaining and the other is annoying. Like, what should I have done? Why is this on me? Should I have specified shoot Elijah in head? I didn't say shoot him in the chest. Worse still, Exodus presents the easiest home run in gaming history when they show you this.
Throughout your journey, you'll team up with a diverse crew of companions, like Salt, an awakened octopus.
We got your back, June. You too, Salt.
Not necessary. If you die, I leave. Contract void.
Obviously, you would think, hell yes, the romance scenes with that octopus companion are going to be absolute all-timers. Naturally, I Googled Exodus romance octopus, only to learn that no, you cannot romance the octopus. I haven't seen such blatant self-sabotage since those deluxe edition skins for Master Chief. Nice try, Halo Studios. We know you're making these bad on purpose.